We are live.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Alicia, for getting our text started for tonight. I really appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Want you to come on in the room and get settled wherever you may be tuning in from. If you're on our Zoom link, or maybe you're tuning in on Facebook via one of the organizational channels that is co-sponsoring this event tonight. So come on in the room, get yourself settled in. Welcome, welcome. My name is Justice Gatson. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an organizer for the ACLU of Missouri. And so glad that you're joining us for this important conversation about accountability and the right to record police officers. Want to go through just a few housekeeping items. Try to keep yourself on mute when you're not speaking to reduce any noise. We do have the interpreter going now, so if you are hard of hearing but can read, that is on for you. There's also buttons on your device that you can press, 3 dots on the bottom, and it will ask you if you need an interpreter. And if you speak Spanish or would like to have this in Spanish, you can press that button for Spanish speaking folks. Also, we'd like to let you all know that because of the nature of the conversation that we have tonight, we want to recognize that a lot of trauma goes into some of these events, and you may hear something. If you need space, time to step away from this, we do have a breakout room. Dr. Erica Thompson from the Kansas City Black Mental Health Care Initiative will be available for you to talk to if you should need somebody to talk to during our event tonight. We really want to take care of people in this space tonight. So without further ado, I like to kind of go around to our panelists, let them have an opportunity to share their name and what brings them to this conversation. So I will kick it off to you, Matt.
Okay, thank you. My name is Matt Akins. I have a group called Citizens for Justice. We are based in Columbia, Missouri, and we film police, but also put together presentations on police misconduct, police actions, different situations people have had with the police. Started about 10 years ago in 2000. Yes. And at which point I had a lot of negative interactions with the police department, specifically the Columbia, Missouri Police Department. And I kind of didn't feel like there was any outlet. I didn't feel like there was many avenues for me to pursue. Complaints about misconduct go nowhere. The criminal justice system is made pretty much to protect the police. That's my personal opinion. And I felt like I needed to develop some type of avenue to hold the police accountable. And I felt like the only thing they really responded to was, media and, the spotlight. So that's pretty much my story in a nutshell.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you. Appreciate your work.
Absolutely.
Let's hear next from Attorney Rod Chappell. Please tell us, who you are and what brings you to this conversation tonight.
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Rod Chappell, Nimrod Chappell. I'm a lawyer. I have offices in Missouri and practice as a trial lawyer around the state. I'm also president of the Missouri State Conference of the NAACP and one of the local units here in Jefferson City. We have for a long time been concerned about not only the level of violence, but also just the general mistreatment, the improper handling of citizens, particularly citizens of color. As you know, in 2017, we issued the travel advisory, and I can talk more about that later, but if you have the ability to record a situation, you can prevent questions that challenge the integrity of everybody involved because you have it on your phone or you have it on video, and you can share that in a way that makes a meaningful contribution to the conversation as opposed to some of the feelings that we otherwise have. It's a tool, and I think that we got to use it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
How about you, Terry? Tell us a little bit about you and what brings you to the conversation tonight.
My name is Terry Rucker. I have been recording the police for several years. I come to the conversation this evening because I am constantly dealing with this very same issue, like Matt had spoke on. I record the police. There's not a lot of that around here, although it's getting more and more prevalent. In fact, I think it's getting so prevalent around here that the police are beginning to respect the right a little more now. And I come because, I mean, when you really boil down all the issues that we have, in America, it really boils down to the people versus the police. All of them, all the major issues really boil down to that. And if we don't understand what it is that we're fighting for, which is our rights and holding the government accountable, then nothing really seems to matter after that. So that's why I'm here.
Appreciate you and your work. Glad you're doing it, especially in Springfield. Let's hear from Erica Buford. Erica, you're on mute.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening. This is Erica Buford from Columbia, Missouri, and I am the Vice President of People's Defense in Columbia. And we basically are trying to be a voice for the community for our the injustices and trying to get many of the policies changed, reaching out to the community. Right now, we're feeding mainly the homeless because that's big here in Columbia. So we're feeding them each Sunday a hot meal, but everyone is welcome to join. But I'm basically a community advocate. I'm primarily for the youth and for the elderly, and trying to make sure that our young, mainly Black youth grow up productive and know their purpose. And I'm basically wanting to be a part of this call. I have been stopped by the police, but also to give my point of view as a female when I'm traveling the highways a lot in Missouri and what I've encountered. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Erica. And let's see, did Brother Ak make it on? He might be having some trouble getting in still. Brother Ak is the Kansas City president, chapter president of the National Lawyers Guild, and hoping he can come on. He also serves as a legal observer. I actually run the legal observer for a program for the ACLU, and serve as the co-vice president for the Midwest region for our National Lawyers Guild. And so, as you can imagine, all of my states over the summer are pretty much, embroiled with protest and, doing this very thing, recording the actions of police officers. This is really important, right? So now that you've heard a bit about why folks on this panel care about the issue, I'd like for us to show a clip from an interaction that Terry had with law enforcement in Springfield, Missouri. And then we'll have an opportunity to discuss this. I also want to state that I invited Sheriff Arnott from Springfield to be a guest on this panel. He stated that he had a prior training. I also extended it to anybody on his team to be here tonight. And I did not hear anything back from that invitation. So just wanted to let you all know, we really wanted to make sure that this process was fair, that people could speak as they felt. Terry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I also extended the invitation to Chief Paul Williams, because this was a Springfield Police Department interaction, and Chief Paul Williams was the one that had the determining factor on the investigation and everything. And he also declined. He felt that he didn't have anything to add to the conversation of police reform.
Thank you, Terry. So Terry, we'll let you want to do just a setup of this, and then we'll play it.
Okay. So it was Thanksgiving, and I was traveling around in the community in the neighborhood of my aunt. I was about to go see my cousins, and I saw 3 or 4 police vehicles, and me being who I am was curious what was going on. So I decided to stop by, and I had to park away from the incident because doing this, I don't really like being followed after recording the police. So I parked a little ways away and walked up to the event, right, to see what was happening. And as I saw what was happening, I didn't really know what was going on. But I figured I tried to stay away. I tried to stay as far away as possible. I didn't want to interrupt anybody. I wasn't trying to interfere with anything. Like, I passed an officer. It looked like he was doing some paperwork. Again, not trying to interfere. So I just passed him up, went to an officer who acknowledged me. And I asked him if there was anything going on. And that's where this video starts. Although all of that also, you can also find on my YouTube channel, both the video that we're about to see and the unedited video from before I walked up on the scene.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, Alicia, if you could go ahead and get that started for us.
We got 4 cop cars now. Everything okay here? No? Anything we need to let the world know about? We got a killer on the loose. I know there was a robbery over there the other day at near my.
Nothing you need to be worried about.
Nothing? Okay. Everybody's okay? Oh, you just said no, huh? Damn.
Have a good day, man.
You too. It's crazy. I don't know what it is. He says, I don't need to know.
Hey, bud, where are you living at?
Huh?
Where are you living at?
Oh, I don't answer questions.
Okay, so if you're not gonna answer questions, that's fine. But I would ask you to stay in the intersection and film this because you're interfering with our investigation. Okay?
Oh, I'm over here in the public space.
Okay.
So I'm not trying to interfere, you know.
Okay, but
I'm
right
just
now you're on somebody's property and you're
not right here. I'm not.
It's a roadway.
Right, but there's
Okay, so this is private property. This is roadway. So go in the intersection. Otherwise, I'll have to detain you for interfering. Okay? And I'm being super cool. So if you're being cool to me too, okay?
Listen.
Could you please?
Can I say something?
No.
Okay.
I can talk to you over there. Let's go over there.
Okay. Well, but this is public property because it's the easy. I'm trying to stay out of it. You guys can do what you're doing. I'll stay over here. He said not to be interfering, so I'm just not interfering.
Over there.
Nah, just let him go. He's gonna whine and
Okay.
it's bad.
So just don't come to our investigation.
Yeah, I'm not. That's why I came back down this way to try to stay away.
Inside. We're trying to keep that down. You're being totally disrespectful.
Please don't grab my phone. Don't grab my phone. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you guys doing? Ow! Oh shit! Ow! What are you guys doing?
Stop.
What are you doing? You can't. What are you doing? You can't take my phone.
Stop.
What are you guys doing?
You gotta get that on my face, man. I thought you were trying to assault me.
What?
We told you
guys
tried to
stepped up
assault the officer, man.
No, I ran away from you.
Well, no.
I ran.
thought you tried to. I thought so too. So
What are you guys
doing,
talking
man?
about?
I'm trying to get you to
I was
stop
listening.
interfering.
I wasn't interfering.
Okay, just chill out for a minute.
I am chilled out. Listen, I'm not trying to interfere or anything. Like, if you guys could have just left me alone, I would have just stood right there and continued to do what I was doing.
That's all we're gonna do. Okay.
the only thing we ask politely is just stay in the intersection. That's all. We're not
gonna need you
against your filming.
That's all we're trying
But
to
we
do.
are saying,
Right.
if you're saying you go on somebody's property,
Right.
you go in, so people are be concerned while
Okay.
there's a guy walking around filming everybody. Then you put the phone into the officer's face.
Well, he walked up to my.
The phone can be used as a assaulting tool.
Okay.
Okay, you don't do this to the officers.
Okay.
And so that's all it's about.
Okay.
And you take a deep breath after that, because it could have went so much worse. And so Terry, just your thoughts about, I want to hear from you first about like when that first happened. I know you reached out to me when it happened, and you reached out to your community, and you was like, yo, this happened. And I saw things in there that I think definitely should not have happened. Just in the way and even in which the officer talked to you. Just basic level of respect for another human being just wasn't there from the gate. Let me go ahead and speak your truth.
So when I watch that video, because I still watch it sometimes, right? And like I show people and stuff like that, right? And it's still like, just watching it just now, it still sends like shivers through my spine watching it, right? Because I don't know how far they're going to take it, right? I know now because that's an old situation. You know what I mean? But I know that like that type of thing can happen at any moment. They could have shot me, right? And I'd be dead right now. I have people that I know that are close to me who I talk to, and I try to get them to also record the police, and they say the same thing. They're like, you're not going to get the police to shoot me in the face. I'm not doing it. And they could have done it and they would have got away with it. So that, like, every time I watch that video, that's what crosses my mind, right? Like at the time, that didn't cross my mind because I believe that the police are human. They're people, right? They're American citizens too. You know what I mean? That, like, most people are not bad, you know? But when you put that much power, the amount of power that the government has allowed them to have to shoot and kill people, take the lives of other human beings, right? That is a massive power. And like, I knew that when Officer Milirons decided that that other officer was not capable of handling just little old me just recording from across the street, that he came over, that he wanted confrontation. And now hindsight, right, validates that, because Officer Milirons was going to retire soon. Because I just recently found out that Officer Milirons has retired. And they extended the length of the investigation to allow Officer Milirons to retire before they even sent me what they decided was a reasonable whatever. So I still, like, it makes me hate the police. When I do my cop watching and recording of the police and things like that, I try to be as reasonable and respectful as possible. I try to remember that behind that badge is a human person who has a family, and they're just trying to do what they think is best for everybody. But when I watch that video and other videos that I've been arrested and assaulted on, it makes me hate the police. It makes me want to go out and continue doing what I'm doing until they shoot me. That's what it makes me want to do.
And I think, let that sit on us, y'all. Let that sit on us. That's heavy. That's heavy. That's the weight that we carry. We carry this weight, and we go on and we do the things we have to do. We work, we take care of our children, and we all under this weight. I want to thank you, Terry, for just being really real about it. And again, I want to remind everybody, thank you, Dr. Thompson. We have, somebody on the line who's here for us if you need to, talk to somebody. These things are traumatic, and they happen to our communities every single day. Every single day. I want to allow, others from the panel to respond to the video that you just saw, anything that you want to uplift or bring out.
I just wanted to say, like, Terry made a really good point. He said they could have shot him, they could have got away with it. And if you listen to what one of the officers is creating a story and accusing Terry, and you can tell by the video that's not actually happening. But the other officer is listening, is following, and you can be sure that if there was no video of this, those reports would match what that officer said. That story that officer manufactured, that would have been the narrative that the press bought, that the courts bought, that everyone bought.
I might add that,
You're on mute. Go ahead.
Thank you. I might add that, Mr. Rucker was completely respectful all the way through. I mean, even as he was being assaulted, right? And it's so hard to prevent something from escalating because it's not up to us. When you're in that situation, it's up to them. You were literally in their grasp. And you can be right as all day, standing on the easement, not in somebody's yard, not in the middle of the street, not interfering with the dang investigation, right? But at the end of the day, it is what they do to you. That is the place that we as people of color, that we as disadvantaged communities, people who are often left voiceless, are rendered to, where we continue to have to wait for them to allow us to present our own humanity. Now, in some circumstances, that's going to come later, right? I'm so glad you made it out of there, Mr. Rucker, and I understand what you're saying. I understand. Continue to be thoughtful in what you're doing, because we are a much better group, a much better society. We're much better advocates, all here together. We can't afford to lose you. Right on? Okay.
And
I do want to say though, like, it's, while the disparity between black and white, right, like, that is a thing that it very much exists, right? That's not it, right? When we're dealing with police accountability, right? Because I've had friends, it's more of a socioeconomic thing, right? And something for me is, yes, the numbers are different, right? They are worse for Black people. Hands down, there's no debate about it. And if you want to debate about it, then you're racist, period. Right? But that is not to say that this issue doesn't happen for white people. There's a guy, one of the biggest First Amendment auditors on YouTube, James Freeman. I watched him get his ass whooped, just beat. They put up the police tape before they whooped him, and then whooped him, and they could have killed him, and then nobody could have came in close enough to record it because they already had the police tape up, right? But he was white. Now, he is a very big advocate for police accountability, but he also, from what I don't know the guy personally, right? But I've watched his live streams, I've seen his videos, right? He feels that because he's white, that nobody cares. And we are reaching this age, this where we as a Black community are starting to have power that affects people's mental, right? They don't like the fact that Black people have power. They don't like it, you know what I mean? And I feel that at this point, I'm not gonna say it would have been this way like 5 years ago, but at this point, we now have the power and ability to lift up people like James Freeman, who are fighting for the same things we are fighting for. You know what I mean? And let them know it's not just about race. It's not about race at all. It is about putting power in check. Because for me, that is what it is all about, putting power in check. So I just wanted to say that real quick. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. That's okay, Terry. Thank you for your thoughts. I saw Attorney Nimrod said power. It's all about power. It's about power and control. I mean, all I have to do is lean in on my training as a domestic violence advocate. I see it. I see the cycle, you know? I see how it goes down. I see how, that relationship, come have some coffee with cops, butter me up a little bit, make me feel good about you, or try to, but then still go back to that same abusive crap in the community. You don't talk to me right. You don't treat me right. And so, Terry, I dare say that it is all of the above. It is everything that you mentioned. It is about power. It is about race. It's undeniable. But it is about all of it. And the other thing that I will say, that a fight, whenever you fight for Black folks, you fight for everybody. Everybody wins when Black people win. When the least of us win, we all win. So by default, James and everybody else is caught up. They're taken care of. Also, for everybody, think about that mentality, right? Of, I'm gonna teach James. I'm gonna make an example out of James. Who is this white boy think he is out here? Who does he think he is? Who do they think they are, unifying with Black and brown folks? Let's teach James a lesson. So, y'all, it's really deeper than just these day-to-day actions. I mean, this stuff is deeply rooted, deeply rooted. Anything else? We're gonna open this whole thing up to our entire panel, right? Anybody, as we go along, if you have a comment about the video, I want you to make the comment about the video. But I also want to throw out some other questions, and let's really get into a conversation. So any of you can take this. And the question is, we talked a little bit about why you do this and why exercising this right is really important, right? So let's talk about how do you deal with the aggressive police when filming? Because that tends to be I'm around the state, right? Doing these Know Your Rights trainings. And I'm telling people, hey, these are your rights. You have the right to record police officers. You have the right to, do these certain things. But I know sometimes my language changes depending on who I'm talking to. My language changes if I'm talking to a room full of Black boys. And that's just real. I want to keep it real. I can't tell them to do the same thing I tell my white babies. I can't tell them, because they might end up like our baby, Trayvon Martin, right? They might end up like our other babies who we've lost. So I can't tell them, yeah, it's okay if you film the police. I have to tell them, look, if you're gonna film them, make sure that you got is right out here in front, right? You can't be, and even still, just like we saw with Terry, they say, oh, that can be used to harm us. You could use that to harm us. So it's more than a book on the law. It's also about changing the hearts and minds of people who we live with in this state. Some of those folks who went to the Capitol on the 6th. So open it up, panel, who wants to kind of take these questions? How do you deal with that aggressive police while you're filming? Matt, I want you to start with that because you have experience.
Well, being
just
white
like
helps
Terry.
a little bit, you know. It does. I mean, Terry did a great job of being really polite with him, you know, and it didn't matter in his situation. So honestly, the biggest issue is you are at the mercy of that person. Like Nimrod said, you're at the mercy of them. They make the decisions. I would say like being aware of your surroundings. You know, I know when you're talking about you deal with domestic abuse situations, kind of maybe some of the same tips that you might give to a woman who is alone by herself at night. Those are some of the same tips you might want to use because there might be some similarities, there might be some parallels. Make sure that there are other people in the area. Make sure that you are not, you know, make sure someone knows where you are. If you're not live streaming, make sure that there are other people around. Make sure stay in a well-lit area. Keep your hands away from your waist. I mean, it sucks that you have to treat the situation like you're a hostage in a hostage situation, but you have some of these officers that they will look for any excuse they can because they don't want to be filmed. And they don't like you for what you're doing. They don't like you for the videos that you're putting out. They don't like the fact that Terry, you know, puts out a video that makes him look like that. It gets Springfield News Leader articles. It gets internal investigations. That causes problems for them. These are things that are going to be in their internal affairs record, their disciplinary record, even if they go to another department. And we, the public, may not get that because, as you guys know, those are sealed records. Other officers are going to see that, you know. Yeah, you know, keep your composure. Don't lose your cool, and make sure that other people know where you are.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I'm gonna throw out a couple of things because along the way I want us to make sure that we learn and understand. So, number one, we do have this right, even though it may not be respected. Understand it is a First Amendment right. You have that right to videotape or photograph police officers performing their duties. It is a right that you have, as long as you are not interfering with that right. Now, that's where some trickiness can come in, right? Because who decides what interfering is, right? We saw on that video with Terry, and it was like, don't interfere. And Terry's like, I'm way back here. I'm not even bothering you guys. So it's going to depend on the officer on duty that day, what determines interference. Second thing I want people to know and understand is that officers do not have the right to take or delete your footage. They do not have the right to delete your footage. Your cell phone is probably one of the most protected things there is. More protected than probably your body, as in terms of the law. So officers cannot, without warrant, enter into your cell phone. For those who are video recording, a couple tips. If you're, don't set your phones with your fingerprints. A cop can easily force that phone open with your thumbprint. Don't do the facial recognition. You'll want to make sure that you have an actual passcode. Make it somewhere between 6 to 8 digits long so that it's tough to crack. Okay, so those are a couple of tips I'll give. I'll give a few more as we continue on. But I want to ask a question about how let's get some more tips about ensuring your safety when recording, or some tactics that the police might use to discourage you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I had a tip that you forgot. To prevent them from deleting your video, use the ACLU mobile app, right?
Yeah. So download Mobile Justice app. There are a few features on there. There's a record feature. And so that will go automatically. It will upload to an offsite location where somebody in our office will be able to view it. So yes, use the Mobile Justice app if you can. The app also allows you to make a recording as well. It also allows you to find other people in your area who might be experiencing a stop or need a witness to something. So it's a really, really, really cool app. Ryanda, if you could drop a link for that app in the chat for folks, that would be great. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about dealing with ensuring your safety. Some of that came out. Also, tactics police use to discourage recording. Arrest is a tactic. Detainment. Also, what else? Threats.
So I think it was Matt actually, when we was on a previous conversation, he had mentioned the fact that they will use they'll play music. I've not had this happen to me, but they can play music that is copywritten. And if they play copywritten music, then that will make it that'll flag the algorithms and stuff, right? And just for the record, since we're talking about copywritten stuff, I'm vehemently against copywritten music and copywritten everything because of Walt Disney and the fact that that's a whole thing. But they do that to keep us to delete the video so it doesn't go viral.
It don't matter.
Yeah, there was a Newsweek article that came out. Let me check the date on this. February 10th, and cop accused of playing copywritten music while being filmed to block video sharing. It was a Beverly Hills cop started playing music by the band Sublime when a live streamer came in to film him filing a complaint. And so basically, these cops are attempting to get your live stream shut down, or if you record it when you post it to YouTube, when you post it to Facebook, they will remove it because it's got copyrighted music, and they have automatic censors that will just take the video down.
Wow, what a what a thing to do. So they're dreaming of ways to not honor your right by doing that, by honestly, by intentionally impeding your right, by playing that music that will, of course, make social media platforms boot you off so that you don't even get get to have your video heard or seen from what happened to you. So, it's a challenge, right? To exercise these rights, especially when we're dealing with hostility from the other side. And we know that we've been talking real nice and things, we know that police officers consistently escalate, but we consistently lose. And it's gotten to the point where even this rights, some folks who have been doing this recording police for a while now are really asking the question, how do we make sure that we have accountability with this right? So we fought and fought, the ACLU of Missouri really fought hard during Ferguson in regards to the right to record. You can go back and dig up and see all the articles out about how we fought, and then the verdicts came down, right? The reaffirms, yes, yes, yes. But as we saw what happened with Terry, that wasn't respected, and I know that Terry filed a complaint with the department. You want to talk about it, Terry?
Yeah, so actually I did not file a complaint.
Not on this one.
That was my intention. And yes, not on this one. That was my intention to file a complaint. But I mean, it was Thanksgiving and I had family. It was a weekend. We had stuff going on and all that stuff, right? And before I knew it, the community that I live in has people who also do these things. like Alyssa Wagner, who with me on the Southwest Missouri Cop Watchers, right? She saw the video, right? Because she was watching me live. And when you watch somebody live doing this, that matters. You know what I mean? She was able to take that and she made the video that we watched. She did the editing, put the name and all that stuff on there, and that stuff matters. And she put that out there, and then the news picked it up because she sent it to the news and did a whole bunch of other things. You know what I mean? I didn't file. The police department decided to file an investigation themselves. And it's not because what happened, it's because of how many people saw it. And that is vital for some reason, right? Like the fact that it matters how many people see it is a problem, right? But so many people saw it. There's been enough people that called up there, and I've and this is new to me, right? And I've been doing this for a while, but this is new to me. I've had people, they was like, hey, I've been searching for your phone number for months. And my phone number is pretty public, but they were like, I've been searching for you for months, and I did not like what happened to you. What's going on with that situation? I've already talked to city council for you, and I've already talked to the police for you, and I've complained about it. And that is what made Paul Williams file an investigation with Internal Affairs himself. So that wasn't me. They did it. I intend to file I intend to file a complaint next week because there's some shady stuff happening with that investigation. Why did it take so long? Right? Did you literally just wait until the officer involved retired before you made your determination? Right? And I have the letter here that they sent me, and they decided that there was not unnecessary or excessive use of force in that video by either Corporal Milirons or Zababra. I'm going to murder his name. I don't want to do that. But anyway, there was the other officer. There was no unnecessary excessive use of force. There was no improper procedure by the other officer. But Corporal Milirons, it was sustained that he did use improper procedure. What was the improper procedure? Because if the improper procedure was putting his hands on me, then that would be unnecessary or excessive use of force. And addition allegations of conduct unbecoming an officer. But it doesn't matter though, right? Because he's retired, and well, now that he's retired and he gets his pension, it doesn't really matter. So I guarantee my next interaction with the police that you see on my live video, I guarantee you it's not going to be respectful, because being respectful is not going to help in no way. This is the third complaint, and this complaint was filed by the police department. The first two complaints I filed, and they arrested me, put me in handcuffs. And then the first one, they put me in handcuffs, kicked me in the face and everything, sent me to jail. I had to go to jail for that, right? I wasn't doing nothing but recording the police. And then in the second interaction, right, not only did they arrest me, they held me for 24 hours, almost cost me my job, and then towed my car, which also costs money. And I don't know what the median income of the world is, right? But I can tell you this much, I'm fucking poor. So, you know, that extra $150 that it cost to get my car out, yeah, that was 25% of my rent payment. So like,
Terry, I want to let Attorney Nimrod jump in real quick, because you've said a lot, and I think it really speaks to what happens to a lot of people who are in this situation. Like, that interaction can cause so much trauma for the family afterwards. Like you said, you almost lost your job, your car got towed, all of these other expenses now that you have that related just from you doing something that is constitutionally protected.
Right.
So,
Well, and Justice, you make an excellent point. You couldn't be more right about that being constitutionally protected. It's been recognized by the courts that you have a right. It's your First Amendment. Everybody runs around talking about the Second Amendment, and that's a great amendment too. The First Amendment gives you a whole bunch of carriage there too, and their decision to respect it, or in some cases not to respect it, directly impacts you. Let me just start off with another comment. ACLU on your phone. Listen, I just go ahead and got my little app. You can't see it. Something's going on there. But I just got my little app. So I'm going to have it so I can use that, because that's exactly right. You don't want them interfering with this. You literally risking your life trying to get this information. It's got to go to somebody, right? Maybe you can help somebody else, and you'll know that through the app. Along with that, and it ain't got to be me. Y'all who are involved in this movement, we have got to stick together in order to do that. We need some lawyers on the team, right? So that when this bad thing happens, you can be like, okay, fine, you did that, boom, I'm doing this, right? And you know, these days, most people are not asking for retainers and that kind of stuff. Lots of folks will work with you if it's a matter of paying, or will find the money somehow because justice requires that. But the idea that we're going to go out and get beat up and then suffer in the way that Ms. Rucker did, that ain't right. You know, we have to find a way to be able to get around that. And so I would suggest that we continue to think about it in that way. The cascading effect of these interactions, you know, it's not just, hey, and literally, man, I understand. I know where you're at in terms of getting traumatized at the hands of some cops. Okay. And the effect, that's not just that moment. That's going to be walking with you as you go forward, right? That's something to deal with, you know, as you interact with your family and friends and people who don't know you. Yeah, that's something that's with you. But, you know, your car getting towed, you know, we got to pay for that, right? So we got to deal with that. We got to figure out about this job situation, because I'm with you. If they hold you for too long, the job doesn't want to hear about you did what, huh? Oh, you got arrested. Click, right? That's something that's all got to be dealt with. And so having a system, and I'm not going to tell you that you can, you know, have an appendix file folder with, you know, form A through 7 that's going to let you deal with every one of these things. But having, just like y'all have thought about, hey, what to do if they're playing this music, you know, what do I do in terms of recording this, and to make sure that I don't use my fingerprint or use my face recognition. It's also a good idea to plan for some of that in advance. Reaching out to organizations, you know, especially, and I'll tell you, you know, with the NAACP, being well known, right? And so being a known quantity, you know, Terry, Matt, when y'all call, people are going to recognize you and be like, they messing with them again. Got it, right? And you got some folks that hopefully will be able to back you up in the communities that you're in. And then, you know, I'll throw the NAACP 800 number up here, so that if you find yourself in that situation and your local folks are not being responsive with you, NAACP or whoever, we need to get some help in there. And sometimes that is monetary help, right? Yeah, you shouldn't be out there on your own. I get that.
I want to throw in there, you know, people are out, and this happened in Kansas City, so it's fresh to me because, you know, thinking about when you're out recording, know if you're on private property or not, because the rules change there. The property owner decides whether or not you can film from there, take photos from there. And so just always know, you know, am I on private property? Am I going to be on public property? You know, that absolutely matters. And know that you do have the right to record, but you don't have the right to break other laws, like say trespassing, because you'll get dinged on the trespassing for sure. So just make sure that, you know, when you're doing those things, when they say stay back, people generally ask, Justice, how far back should you stay back? And to be honest, that's another one of those, really, it's up to the officer. So if you're told to move back, you do move back. Use your camera to zoom in. Let your camera, zoom in for you. Try to try to do what they ask you to do. If they want you to go across the street, go across the street. Use your phone to zoom in, because at the end of the day, what is going to boil down to is you're going to have to choose your battle in that moment. Is this a battle that you want with an officer who is pissed off and just wants to escalate? Sometimes the situation isn't that, and you're able to film and you're able to get the footage you want. Sometimes it's very different. Live streamers, and particularly those who film police officers, are definitely a target. They are definitely folks who need to be looked after and checked in on. They are doing a service to the movement. They are providing information. They are legitimate media. Sometimes we wouldn't get what we have if not for them. There's a known live streamer I might be able to go to and say, hey, were you down there? Did you get footage of that? They might have something that we can use to help somebody in court. And so I just want to acknowledge, my background is radio, television, and print. And I'm telling you, what you are doing is legitimate. And don't let anybody tell you that it isn't.
Justice, can I piggyback on that?
Yes.
So, and that's a huge point. You mentioned two things that I want to emphasize. The first is, it is hard to win a legal battle on the side of the street with somebody who has a gun, and it ain't you. Even if you have a gun, it is unlikely that we will win that legal battle, right? Because it's going to turn into something else. And I've represented at this point hundreds of protesters around the state, lots of them here in Jeff City, many in Kansas City, many in St. Louis and other places. But the problem is that once they decide what they're going to do, that's getting ready to happen. And so I think we need to consider switching from our First Amendment constitutional self to our corporal body self, right? Because, there's one thing to get brutalized, but I think about the beating that undercover officer took, where he got paid $5 million for in St. Louis just recently as a part of the settlement. That is very, very. I mean, they don't give away $5 million for having a lump on your head. He got the snot beat out of him, right? And many times you're not going to get to $5 million. So just keep in mind, let's keep everybody filming. And that's my second point. In many towns in rural Missouri, in some other locations as well, cops either don't have the body camera because they can't afford it, or they don't understand technology, or they don't have the will to get it. Local municipalities are not funding it. So we got to do a nice service for our community. And it's the same one that Terry and Matt have been about, right? It is filming what is happening, but you can't be out there by yourself. It's got to be a community project, Justice. And you said it right. We all need to be out there filming. If I see something happening, then let's film, whether you're filming the filmer to see what's happening there, right? We got to, like Dr. Seuss, watching the watcher. So let's continue to do that, and I think that, until these communities come together through their public spaces, through our elected officials, using our tax dollars for appropriate policing measures and equipment that is in the 21st century, it's up to us. Let's go ahead and use those phones and just keep them burning, Yeah, so that's what I want to share.
I got one thing, if I could throw in real quick. And I feel like that is, and I know this event right here is more of a Missouri thing, right? Because we got our own things. We in the heart of it. We in the heartland. We in the heart of racism. We in the heart of the problem. We in the heart of the issue. You know what I mean? But this goes across the country. You know what I mean? It's actually international, but it's the heart of this country, because this is what we are dealing with, our country type things. And that's why, for me anyway, right? And from my perspective, groups and organizations and people like San Joaquin Valley Transparency out in California. They are big about helping people who are recording the police and putting that out there. They are big. Like, that's how I got the followers I got. San Joaquin Valley Transparency is about that. Disorderly Product News, who I tried to get on here, but he was on some, I don't know, you know what I mean? Out of Chicago, you know what I mean? And like, these people, they matter. They've got hundreds of thousands of people that watch it. And like I said, my stuff would not have been seen if it wasn't for them. You know what I mean? Like Nimrod said, who gonna watch The Watchmen? You know what I mean? Who gonna watch The Watchmen? Well, if you don't know, there's a YouTube channel called Watching The Watchmen, right? And this is what they do. You know what I mean? And these types of things are vital because it's about the community. Like he said, don't be out there alone. This is why it is vital to have people watching your streams. You know what I mean? If you just record when you're out and about, like it ain't even got to be your occupation or your preoccupation. You know what I mean? Like just offhand. You know what I mean? Just when you just happen to see somebody pulled over and you happen to have 10 minutes to record an interaction, whether something happens or not, it doesn't matter. Record it because it's for the greater good. Do something small. Spend 10 minutes recording a police stop just to make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. And if they not, well, hey, if this dude shoots the police, we can help the police. And if the police beat up this dude for clearly no reason, we can help the dude or female. You know what I mean? Whatever. But the idea is to be helpful and to grow the community and to hold the police accountable, because above and beyond all else, that's what matters, right? Because if power is not put in check, then it needs to be taken down.
Thank you, Terry. You know, when I think about the legal observers who I have out, oftentimes them recording, and I do want to bring this up too, because we've talked about a lot of bad situations with recording, but oftentimes we find it a deterrent to potential police escalation when they see us and they know, oh, we're being recorded, y'all. Let's not do that. And so it can work both ways. And so while we've been saying we've been really hitting on a lot of the negatives, I do want to uplift that the more of us who do this, you know, and simply let cops know, you know, we are going to be watching you to hold you accountable. It's going to help the atmosphere, say the climate of all of this. I always record when I see police interactions. I have helped many of young Black men be set free because justice is just there, knowing all the rules, and, you know, is gonna make sure that everything goes okay and everybody goes home safe. And so, yeah, it does require putting yourself out there somewhat, and it can be scary. I will not lie to you about like somebody like me who has done it over and over and over again. After a while, it just gets to be just kind of a natural thing. Like, just want to protect our communities. That's it. So I want to now see if we have questions from our audience, those who are participating. We've got, I think, about 25 more minutes left for our event tonight. So Ryanda, can you let us know if there are any questions?
Yeah, definitely. There's none right now in the chat, but
okay.
I will keep you updated.
Okay, no worries. So,
actually, I don't know if this was addressed earlier a couple minutes ago, but someone asked, is there an assumption if you're on private property, you don't have the right to be there in the absence of the property owner?
I would say if you're going to leave it to the cops, they would probably assume that. But Nimrod, maybe you have a better answer for that. I'm just, I was doing some, there was a group that was going to protest on private property. Nobody was there. The police did interfere. So I had a situation that I'm remembering that people were on private property. They were not there, and the police did interfere with them. And I actually told them very simply, I said, "Are you all in front of a sidewalk too?" And they were like, "Yes." I was like, just move to the sidewalk and hold your signs up. They were like, "Oh, okay, we'll do that." And they were
Right.
just fine after that.
Yeah.
Justice.
Yes.
There are some questions in the Google Doc. Someone's typing them in there.
Yeah, I was just gonna read those out.
Please do
Justice,
that,
if you
Miranda.
okay. The first question, it's about police unions and investigations. And the person said, we have to know if there are communications happening between union leaders, officers accused of misconduct, and those in charge of the investigating. What can be done in union contracts or policy changes that prevent things like the extensions of investigations to protect officers?
Do you want to try to take that, Nimrod?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the police unions are formidable. They are a political force. They have resources. They hire lawyers to represent the officers involved. That's part of what that union provides. In order to deal with them, let's put it like that, lots of municipalities, cities, and other agencies have expressed some lack of power, right? So if you do something that is unliked, you could get beaten up by people who represent the unions. And that could come in a number of different ways. I'm not talking about physically. I'm talking about in the media and social media. All of a sudden, you don't like cops, that kind of thing. And for the officials who need to make those decisions locally, it's hard for them to do that if they're not going to be held accountable. Let me just put this in context for you a little bit. Think about the driving while black problem, right? So we've got 2 decades of data that shows that if you've got high melanin content, you're going to get pulled over sometimes more than 100% than anybody else. Well, we've talked to the governor, we've talked to attorney generals, we've talked to state reps and legislators. We talked to everybody. And it turns out that the people with the real answer are not in the police department, although that's where it's going to get resolved at. You have to hold the police chiefs accountable for the conduct of their officers. Okay. So until the mayor, the alderman, the city council are doing that, you can expect to have the same results as we have now with numbers that continue to increase. I think that when you're trying to deal with conduct that you don't like, you have to put some penalties to it. If we have kids who aren't doing well in school, they may not get to play sports. Well, we need to have similar accountability in public service. And simply because they're police chief or, that's your job, it doesn't mean you're doing the best job. Especially, we recognize that things like driving while black are constitutional rights, just like the First Amendment. We have a constitutional right to traverse these roads that we pay for with our tax dollars. In the same way, we would expect that when people are spending that money, that they don't use the process to abuse the citizenry at the same time. So you raised the right question, whoever wrote the question. And how do you do that? It is local, local, local. So if they're not behaving correctly, get you a new city council person. If the city council's not behaving correctly, get you a new mayor, right? And keep going until somebody gets the message that they have to be accountable to the people. Because, Brother Terry and Matt, it is not a color issue on that level. It is a power issue. And if the people are going to have the power, you have to do it with the vote, right? We got to get that vote together. And so, we've got municipal elections coming up here in April that we need to turn out. If you don't like what's happening in your city, turn out. Go vote. Take your friends, take your family, take everybody that can go over there. I know it's COVID. Put on your mask and go vote. If you can't vote from home, if you didn't order your absentee ballot in time, go vote. Hold them accountable, and that's how you're going to do it. So, thanks.
Thank you, Rod. Sorry, Terry, go ahead.
So I'm just gonna. I just had a real quick statement. We're in Missouri, and like we've never had a statewide mandate on mask. So you ain't even got to put on your mask. Just go vote if that's the thing. You know what I mean? If that's what you're going, if that's how we're gonna do it, you ain't even got to wear a mask. We in Missouri. You know what I mean? Because I'm an anti-mask type of person. You know what I mean? I just wanted to throw that out there. Sorry, that's all I got.
Right on.
Y'all
Right
better
on.
put on y'all mask. Um, as a community health worker in the room, I'm gonna say, wear your mask, please. We have an elderly population, Black and brown folks. They're contracting this illness and dying more from it than anybody. So wear your mask no matter what you do. And yes, all of those things are really important. Remaining engaged, staying engaged, pushing, building power. You have to do that. You have to constantly protect these rights all the time. There's always work to do. Any other questions, Randa?
Yeah, we actually have a bunch. So
Okay.
get ready. We have a couple in the chat. Those popped up after some of the Facebook ones. So I'll read some of the ones from the Facebook. But the first one or the next one is, do you have to give the police your name or ID if asked when recording?
Yeah. So they do have the ability to ask you, hey, who are you? Where are you? Do you have an ID? Now, if you don't have an ID, obviously you can't produce it. If you want a confrontation, don't tell them your name, right? Yeah. So
Nimrod, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But that's not the.
But legally in Missouri, I want to get to the law though. So legally, where is it? I think it's just in the city in Kansas City that you have to produce your ID. Is that correct? And then,
yeah, I'm willing to be corrected if I'm wrong on this. I'm
looking for confirmation.
Sure. If you're walking along, whether you're in Kansas City or not, and they decide that they are going to engage you, right? You can ask a couple of questions. Am I being detained? That kind of stuff. But at the point where they are not letting you go, then you are detained. Now, do you have to tell them who you are? Yeah, I don't think you got an option on that. I mean, to be honest with you. Yeah, if I'm wrong, please let me know.
Terry versus Ohio.
Huh?
Terry versus
Ohio.
Well, sure. Yeah, a Terry stop, but telling you,
which if I'm now I could be wrong, right? And it's this is probably the best opportunity to decide that, right? To discuss this issue, right? Because that's the biggest question, right? Because a lot of people wonder whether or not you have to show your ID just because a cop asks for it, right? Now, me being me, right? I've been I spent a lot of years in prison, right? And then I got out of prison and I was on parole. And I read my conditions of parole, right? And while the standard is lowered for parolees, right? Reasonable suspicion as opposed to probable cause, right? There is still even in Missouri, you at the very minimum have to have, you being the police, have to have at least a reasonable suspicion of a crime either having been committed, being committed, or about to be committed. And if that does not set, then you don't have to show anybody anything. Am I mistaken on that, or I'm pausing?
And so I think I skipped the first part because you know what's coming next, right? You're looking a little suspicious today, sir. We just had a burglary down over there. You kind of fit the description. We think it was a humanoid. You know what I mean? That's how they're going to do it, right? That's what they do to us.
Terry, you were told you look suspicious for recording, just walking in the street recording. I heard that.
Right,
and
but suspicion by itself is not
Right.
reasonable suspicion. It does
Right.
not reach the level that's needed that has been established by the Supreme Court.
It has to be, they have to articulate a crime correctly.
Yeah.
Like,
They have
not
It
just
has,
random suspicion, a specific crime needs to be articulated by the officer. My understanding.
There is
Whether
no
or not-
failure to ID law in Missouri, right? So just be clear on that. Yeah.
So the
failure to
probable
ID
cause-
as a witness.
That's a witness.
Because I just beat one of those cases out in Ozark just 3 or 4 years ago
As a
because they
witness.
hit me with that.
Okay.
And it's failure to ID as a witness. Now, if that's a whole different thing,
Yeah.
kind of, not really. They can't hit you with it. Yeah, right. But
Right.
this, something that is more important than that is you don't want to fight with the cop about it because that is a legal issue that you fight with the courts about.
Right.
But if you don't assert your rights on the scene, you may lose rights in court, and that's the balance you got to fight. You know,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
they're gonna say you consent to the interaction, then you
Well,
lose
sure.
the understanding. So
Yep.
it's a
Yep.
balance, you know.
So you
you're
always say, I don't consent, right? Those are like some really important words. I do not consent to a search. I do not consent to talk to you. Like, I do not consent to any of this. Thank you for bringing that up, Matt, because if you don't assert that, then they could say, well, you agreed. You never resisted. You never said. In Missouri, and so really probable cause, right? They have to have probable cause, right? A valid reason based on
But they
facts.
don't have to tell you what it is.
Based,
That's the kicker. Because if they have probable cause or even reasonable suspicion, there's nothing in the law, which, by the way, we should probably hashtag change that, right? There's nothing in the law saying that they have to tell us what it is. Because they can say that, no, we don't have reasonable suspicion, even though they do. Or they don't have probable cause, even though they do. And they don't have to tell us that, which means they don't have to tell it. If they say, give me your ID, and then you don't, now you're just being combative, even though they have information you don't have. And that's part of, in my opinion, community policing. Because if you know the community you're policing, then you can have that interaction with those officers, right? If they're saying like, hey, there was just like 3 houses over here that were just robbed and so, whatever, you don't know. I'm recording all kinds of stuff. I might got it on video, but you coming in trying to arrest me, I'm not going to be helpful to you.
so there are some time requirements attached to all of this. Police cannot hold you indefinitely. There are time requirements. Nimrod, can you share with us, is it a 24-hour hold for some things? I know maybe 48 for some. I think an FBI hold is what, 72? Can you kind of just give us some information there?
So I think it's a 24-hour hold now. There's legislation currently pending in front of the legislature to change that to 48 hours. I hate that idea. Then I'm not sure, Justice, to be honest with you, about the FBI. I've
know
dealt
that
with
one
people
because
there,
my
but
husband got held on one of those before.
damn.
Yeah. So, and we can, what we are going to do, just for folks who are listening, we're going to make sure that we have the most complete answers to these questions. So please drop them. We will release a document with the questions and the answers to go along with this. I think all of your questions are going to be really, really important, and we want to make sure that we give you the best information available. Also, we need to really clarify the Missouri ID law. It's been a little tricky for people.
Yeah.
So we can really make sure we have that hammered down too.
I wanted to say something in regards to being stopped as a Black female and
Please.
recording. I'm on the highway often, and just being on 70 is an anxiety for me.
Mm.
I can get to Kansas and be fine, Illinois and be fine. Not that I can't be stopped there, but I have an anxiety on just being on 70s highway. I have been stopped a few years ago outside of Kansas City, and I went to try to record, and I was recording, and I heard like the leaves rustling on the other side. So I actually turned quickly to the right of me, and I seen two police officers at my back window. And the cop told me to get out of the car because I made a sudden move. And I did get out of the car, but I was still trying to record. And the thing is, my phone, the battery, since when I had to get out and I unplugged, the phone was charging. So I didn't get to record the full interaction. But supposedly one of the police officers was reprimanded because I asked one of them, why were you stopping me? Because I had my car on cruise control and it was only 78. And he's like, well, you were speeding. And so and then one of the cops, he said, because the Constitution gives me the right to, and I'm just like, well, what Constitution and what country is that? And so then they said that I was being, they didn't say smart aleck, they said some other word. And so, but the thing with females being on the highway by themselves, I've learned is that they think that we're traveling or taking like I've been told like a boyfriend or someone through, to get them out of the town or to get them from where they are from, because like they're wanted for a warrant or something. And I'm just like, that isn't making any sense to me. Why would I chance being on the highway with someone in my car that's wanted? But I've been told that. And I guess it may be a normal to, have them look in your back seat, is the reason why there's, a cop gets on the other side, the passenger or whatever. But to me, that was just really, it was scary, but it was actually like, what would be the purpose to, be looking in my back seat if I haven't given you even the right to search my car, but you're over there in my back seat looking to see what's back there. So, and I'm just saying this because I haven't really, said a lot, but that as far as a Black female trying to record as well, that they see us as easy targets sometimes as well. So
I just want to piggyback. No, go ahead, Nimrod.
You can. So I was at the Capitol today, and Senator Brian Williams is trying to help by passing some criminal justice reform. It kind of got co-opted with another deal to remove police residency out of Kansas City, but that's a side issue. One of the things in that bill was literally to say that officers are not allowed to engage in sexual relations with people who are in their custody. There's already a law in the books that says you can't have a consensual relationship, of a physical nature with someone in your custody, but it also would expand to detainees under the new law. So there are lots of things to be concerned about as a female or just as a person in the custody of an officer. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for bringing that up, Erica, because
I just wanted to point out. Sorry, go ahead, Justice.
I'm gonna finish, Terry, and then I'll let you. A lot of people on the front lines of the social justice movement are Black and brown women, Black and brown trans women as well, who experience high rates of violence and escalations from police officers. So thank you for bringing that up. I know I definitely get that, and I know what to do. And we get stopped. My husband is a big Black man. We get stopped. And I do have that fear too when we get stopped, and I know exactly what to do. And it's still always so nerve-wracking. It's still always so, and my husband's gonna let the window all the way down, take the keys all the way at the ignition and put them on top of the hood so that you don't have an excuse. Cause he already he's been a target since he was 12, unfortunately, for Black boys. They never really get to be boys. So thank you for bringing that out about women, because women are on the front lines. Women are doing a lot of this recording. And I mean, I commend a whole troop of female trans women legal observers who are doing this work. So thank you so much for bringing it out. Go ahead, Terry.
I was just gonna piggyback on what Erica said, right? Because there's something that people don't. Because not only do I do this, I work this, right, a lot, and the fact that officers like to look into people's back seats, right? That is a thing that they do, right? But then when you do it to them, which is a constitutionally protected activity, right? Because clearly they're looking in your back seat because the Supreme Court has ruled that it is in public view, and a lot of people don't realize that you being in your car, picking your nose and eating your boogers like I do, I forget that, right? But you be looking and, right, they do it because it's constitutionally protected. And if they see like a syringe back there, a pack of zigzags back there, you know what I mean? These are reasons that they can then look in your car. This is probable cause, right? That has already been determined by the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court of the United States. So when we do it, and by we, I mean people like myself, right? I haven't done it yet, but I assure you it is on my to-do list. It is on my bucket list, right? There's other people that do it all the time, right? Looking in the cars and stuff, right? Because for me, I don't do it, and I haven't done it yet because I feel like it's an invasion of privacy. And because I feel like it's an invasion of privacy to me, I don't do it to others. And when the police do, like what Erica was talking about, when they do that, it's an invasion of privacy. I don't agree with the Supreme Court. However, if I follow the law and just go down the line with the, Supreme Court, then I can do that, which means I'm going to start doing that, right? Because clearly there is a divide between me as a part of the community and the police department. And so I just wanted to point that out real quick. So yeah, I know it sucks having them looking inside of it and all that, right? People get tinted windows so people can't see them picking their nose and all that stuff, you know what I mean? But the reality of the situation is the Supreme Court has already ruled if you are in your car and the police officer can see you, it's not private. It's not, there's no protection there. There's no Fourth Amendment protection there. And when we pay the not me, I don't pay taxes. So let's just get that out there right now. You know what I mean?
You need to
I didn't know that was an
something
option.
right now. You can't let you go on, brother. Let me stop my brother before thank you for bringing that up, Terry, because some people don't know why are they looking. They're actually looking to see if there's something there that they can go further with. That's why you don't ever let police officers in your house, even though they say, no, we're just here to talk. We just want to have a chat, because they might be, when they look, they can scan around. Something could look, somebody got a joint over here, they left in something, somebody's got something over here that's in plain view. That's what it's called, plain view. So if it's in plain view, then they can then, right, say something about it to you. So just what we do know is that Black folks carry around less contraband than our white siblings. We do know that. There is extensive data on that. So what, Ryanda, are there any more questions?
Yeah, there's a bunch.
Okay.
On the topic of the IDs, someone in the chat asked, in the case of folks who have ID documents that differ from their physical appearance, what would be the best protocol asking for trans persons who have socially or medically transitioned without updating documents?
That's a good question.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And I think Nimrod, that the clearest path forward for them is to just tell them, I transition, my documents might not quite match what is presented before you, but that's the only thing that I can think of that you can do if
Get
you
new
don't
documents.
have your document. So
Get new documents.
of
There's
course,
got the answer.
but
That's
in
the answer.
between there, when you're waiting for the new documents and
Mhm.
something happens,
But we
we've
talk
got
about Missouri. Missouri will print you out something that day to give you an updated thing while you're waiting on your card in Missouri. Now that's not for everywhere. That's not for everywhere. But in Missouri, they'll do that.
right. And Terry,
And
I'm not sure if my trans siblings have a few extra steps to go through before they can get there. So they might have some additional hoops to go through. And
well, I'm
so
gonna say this out. I don't think I can be any more public than this, right? If that is an issue in Missouri, I can only speak for Missouri, right? Because I'm in Missouri. I can only speak for Missouri. But in Missouri, right, like I don't get a driver's license. I don't get a driver's license for several reasons, right? One of those is because I have a driver's license. I have a valid driver's license, right? But I get the ID because it's cheaper, right? Because I'm poor. So I'm trying to take the cheaper route, right? Because when the police run your information, right, it's going to show up you have a valid driver's license. So you don't actually need a driver's license, which is like $8 more or whatever, right? That $8 extra, listen, that's a whole blank. But we're not talking about that. So I'm just saying, so I personally, right, if anybody want to get a hold of me and they need a license and they trans and they try, like their ID doesn't fit what they is today, then I will pay for that.
Wow.
I ain't got a lot, you know what I mean? But it's
all my trans siblings, Brother Terry got y'all. But
I got you.
But Terry, I do want to uplift again that I do know that there are additional things, just like sometimes people don't think about what Black folks go through, especially before we pass the Crown Act in Kansas City, just to like get our hair right for the morning. Like, can Justice wear her afro to work for real? Is there going to be an issue, or do I have to take all these steps to get myself together just to be presentable to certain folks, right? And so that's not a very good example, honestly. But it just kind of lets you know there's some extra things I have to do. So our trans siblings, there's definitely extra things they have to do before they can get that document right. And so that time in between before they have it, they want to know, yo, if I get stopped, how do I handle this?
You can't. You can't. Because you are dealing.
What you can do.
You are dealing.
What you can do. You see the glass half empty. I see it half full. What you can do is tell the officer, I don't have my documents correct, but this is who I am. Hopefully police officers are being trained on transgender issues. If they're not, that's another thing that needs to happen, and how we talk to trans folks and treat them. Y'all may have seen or heard about the trans woman in Kansas City who was brutalized by police officers in Kansas City, and that was caught on tape. The man who filmed that was arrested, got a ticket for filming. He was just a bystander filming what happened.
The problem is that the reason I say that there's nothing you can do is because you are just dealing with that officer, right? Because in general, I ain't looked at the numbers, right? But a lot of officers are conservative, anti-gay, it's not what it was when it was 1950 or whatever. You know what I mean?
Trump
So
supporters, bro. That's what you're trying to say, Trump supporters.
no. I'm not necessarily saying Trump supporters, right? Because there are other people who didn't support Trump who don't understand it, right? And people that don't understand it don't necessarily support Trump. They just don't understand it. And the fact that they don't understand it, right, puts this weird thing in their head so they don't know how to deal with it. So the only thing they know how to deal with or how to deal with it is go with what I know, what it's always been, right? Forgetting the fact that the world is changing. The world is not what it used to be. And which is fine, I guess, right? It's fine that people think that way. The problem comes when they're interacting with other people. So when you have the police who pop up talking about, hey, your ID don't look like you, and you're like, hey, yeah, I used to be a chick, now I'm a dude, you know what I mean? And now all of a sudden they got a fucking problem because they don't understand what the hell is happening in the world, and they don't understand people, and they think the whole world is supposed to be just like them, right? Kissing their cousins or whatever. You know what I mean? It's fine. It's whatever. But when you're in that situation, we can't think about all this extra stuff. It's this trans person who is being involved with this other human person who doesn't know. This other person who doesn't know has the power to kill you. So now you must acquiesce to whatever it is that they want, because if you don't, they will kill you. And that's a problem. Is it a problem that we can solve with government? No, it's not. We can try, right? Because government helps some things, right? I mean, we tried to do the, blend people together, right? With anti-segregation and stuff, right? That's anti-Joe Biden stuff, right? When we try to bring people together and have everybody having the same education. We've done that, right? But now in today's world, we are more segregated than we ever were. And it has nothing to do with the government. It's the people. So when trans people, right, or gay people or whatever, any of the brothers and sisters from the LGBTQ plus community try to interact with the government, because when you think about the police, you have to think about, I am interacting with the government. This is the government's man that they decide is good enough to kill me. That's who we are interacting with. And so when we interact with those people, or they interact with those people, it doesn't matter. You just acquiesce, and then you have to fight that shit in the court now, right now. I mean, you still have your rights, right? Because beyond the gender and beyond the LGBTQ stuff, right, beyond all that, you still have your rights as a human.
Mm-hmm. In the state of Missouri, we don't want to extend basic human rights to LGBTQIA folks. Like, it's a huge problem.
It is a problem.
Yeah. But I do. So I want to kind of wrap that up. But this is what I want to say. That to my siblings, trans siblings, LGBTQ plus, do what feels safe.
Yes.
In that moment, do what feels safe. And, you have a couple of things. If you feel like you can tell it out, especially if you're about to get arrested, let's just say that. Because the jail is a different thing. And no trans woman should be in a men's facility ever. And so you'll want to just be as safe as you can. And there is, as you can see, no easy answer here. That goes to show the amount and the level of hate we have right here in our state. We got to tell our siblings, do what feels safe in the moment. And this is the same thing we tell Black folks all the time, do what feels safe in the moment. It could have been a safe idea to, get out the car. Maybe this time it's not. Maybe we locking down, we standing, we're not moving. We always have to play that rope, always have to walk that rope. What's good, what's right, what's not gonna get me killed, what's gonna make sure I get home, what's gonna make sure I can continue to raise my kids and, see my folks the next day. All of those questions. And I talked about earlier, the weight. That's weight. Oh my God, we are so traumatized from this weight.
Come on.
And, earlier I talked about, yes, we have this law in the book, no question about it. So why are we upset? Why are we fighting? Why we got these issues? Because the hearts and minds of people, it won't change. We can do policy, and we need to, and we should, and we better. Because my goodness, that's all we got. But hearts and minds of people, really getting to people, is our work. Showing people how their liberation is bound together is our work. Even to the folks that don't even know, why I'm fighting hard for them and they don't even know it. They're going to reap the benefits and they hate me, but I'm going to keep fighting. That's what we do all the time. Oh, Black people do it all the time. Every presidential election, let me tell you. Let's go. We went over a little bit on our time, but I want to give an opportunity for our panelists to give some final thoughts. Let's go one by one and kind of wrap up. And then I've got a few announcements right at the end. So Terry, why don't you go ahead and give your final thoughts for the night?
All right. Well, my final thoughts are this, is that it is vital for everybody to record the police in order to create a better society, as long as we have government involved in our lives. As long as there's a government, it's going to be involved in our lives. And it's vital because, while yes, there are police that have body cams, the thing that matters is who controls the footage, the people or the government. And if the government is the one recording it, they get to control it because they get to release it as they want to. Think of Laquan McDonald. He gets to record it, or they get to release it whenever he wants. You know what I mean? It took 2 years before they released Laquan McDonald's video. He was shot 17 times. So these are the things that matter. Record when you can, and if you can't, it's fine. But don't knock the people like me and Matt who do it because you can't. If everybody did this like this was just a social norm, then we could do that. Like me and Matt, I could go get a regular job. You know what I mean? But we do this because not everybody can. I've been to prison, I've been to jail, I've done these types of things. So because I've done these things, so me going to jail for 24 hours or 48 hours or whatever is not anything to me. It's not anything to me. But it is to most people. Most people will have a problem. It will be traumatic experiences for them. If they spend 20, I miss you too. Thanks. This is my daughter. This is Isabella. Say hi, Isabella. Hi. Like I have spent years in prison, so it's not that significant to me to spend 24 hours, 48 hours, if they move it to 72 hours or whatever, right? It's not significant to me. That's why I feel like I am built to do this. Isabella, I'm talking right now. It's significant for it's not significant for me to do this. And if more people did it, then people wouldn't have to spend their lives trying to change it, because the whole goal is to hold the police accountable. And if the people that have the power to kill people every day are not held accountable, then none of this matters. That's all I got.
Thank you, Terry. How about you, Matt?
That's a
What are
hard
your
one to
final-
follow up. That's a hard one to follow up. Terry did a hell of a job. I guess I'm gonna say that when you take out your phone or you take out your camera and you film the police, you are the media. That's me, that's Terry, that's Justice, that's Nimrod, that's the person who's watching this video who has never filmed the police in their life. And maybe they're driving down the street tonight and they see an interaction and they think, should I film this or not? Approach that situation smart and realize that as Terry said, it could turn out bad, but approach it with the confidence that you are the media. The police would not treat Fox News or CNN or MSNBC the way that they would treat us when we film the police. They wouldn't treat us the same way because they see us as not as official form of media, but as problematic as the founding fathers were. They're the ones that came up with the Constitution, and their idea of media, they were operating clandestine printing presses to print negative publicity, negative pamphlets about the British. That was the intention of the First Amendment. We are not lesser media. We are the constitutional definition of media, not Fox, not CNN, not MSNBC. So when you go to film the police, approach them with that in mind, that you are the media and they can't take that from you. And that's all I got.
Erica, your final thoughts?
Well, I want to say thank you for inviting me to be a part of the panel. I did find it informative and things that I can take out into the community and make others aware of some of the information. One of my takeaways is to be, and what I tell my kids who are adults now, be alert and be aware of your surroundings. And as far as making sure that their phones are charged up, here's one calling me now. But to making sure that their phones are charged up, making sure that their keys are where they're accessible, that being, even if you are approached by an aggressive police officer does not mean that you need to react. I think that sometimes it just depends, but I think that not giving them what they're giving you, because that's provoking them even more to put you in handcuffs or a body bag. But I really do appreciate being a part of this, and I'd like to continue and see where this leads and how far we can get the message out on the rights and the wrongs of what the police do, even making them aware, maybe even next time, getting someone, a police officer, some representative from the law enforcement to actually be on the call. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Nimrod.
Hey, I can't tell you how much I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Justice, putting this program together, to my esteemed panelists. Y'all are out there in the streets doing the work. On a good day, I'll get to talk with you if something goes right or wrong, sometimes in advance and sometimes after the fact. We, the NAACP, are here to help. We have worked a long time to be able to amass some resources, and sometimes, that's a get out and vote t-shirt, which everybody should do in the April election to make sure we hold local people accountable for their decisions, right? Sometimes that is money to assist or lawyers who can come together on any kind of basis to try and be useful in this struggle that's going on. There are lots of questions, lots of issues, and they're going to remain. But I think that at its core, if we want to and intend to continue to be Americans and be treated like humans, that we're going to have to stand up for ourselves. These cameras, these phones that we got here, these things, that's how we do it. That is our new connecting device. That is our lifeline. And if you have a question on something that's happening, it's not going to hurt. Go and hit that record button. Put it in the app so that it goes right to the ACLU. And remember to go with the people in your back pocket. Go with your friends, go with your family, your communities. Let's get tighter, closer webs, because that's truly what it's going to be to change this state that we're in and to change this country. If we want something better, we got to make it. And that's by standing together for what's right. And that's human life, our dignity as people. So thank you. It's great to be with you and look forward to connecting with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So let me do a couple minutes here with you all. We've said it over and over again. We have this right. It's our First Amendment right to openly record police. We don't have to hide. We can do it in the open. And so courts have upheld this so far. But I also do want to talk just a little bit about the wiretapping statutes, because you might hear about that. We will, in fact, have a document attached to our follow-up thank you, so that you can read up on that, because there are some states that do have wiretapping, and that's when we get into the audio things. So it could be one party, two party, just got to know. But as far as I'm concerned, in Missouri, we are fine to record. But if there are other people tuning in from other places, make sure that you check your state laws. Also, we want to make sure that you are as safe as possible while you're doing this. You'll want to try to be as calm as possible, be courteous. Even in stressful situations, you're just going to really have to practice and hone down that skill. Remember, this is a skill, okay? And you can build that skill and make it better. The more that you're able to get these recordings, the more you're able to actually help people. And so you want to be able to just manage yourself, calm, courteous, make sure you're not interfering with police interactions, maintain a safe distance. Who determines what's safe? Really, the cops do, but you can try to put some parameters around yourself so they don't say anything to you to begin with. Also, one thing really important, do not lie to police officers. It is still against the law to do so. So if they say, "Are you recording me?" You can say, "Yeah, I'm recording you." Just don't lie, okay? I'd rather used to not say anything than to lie. Because
I don't answer questions.
Or you could get in trouble. Yes, you can absolutely say, "I don't answer questions. Am I being detained or am I free to go?" That's my go-to. Am I being detained or am I free to go? Oh, I'm being detained. That means I need to shut up. There's nothing said from their point. There's no reason to say anything else. Please don't ever think that you can talk an officer out of doing something. Your best bet is to be quiet, maintain your silence, because those things, even those very innocent things that you say, can be used against you. They can be used as a part of a false storyline, but just because a piece of it is true, it makes it seem like the whole thing is true. So don't talk. If you're at a demonstration and you're recording, if you ever hear a dispersal order given, that lets you know that there's a potential for arrest. Usually after a dispersal order is given, you're given, maybe they may even tell you, you got 10 minutes to get up out of here, 10 minutes to disperse or we're going to arrest. Please believe them. That's going to happen. And so you position yourself. You tell yourself, I tell myself, "Ooh, Justice, you better get back." Get out of the way of the arrest so that I can continue to record. Makes no sense if I'm caught in the kettle, right? I'm going to jail with everybody else. And we all trying to see, did somebody get a video of my arrest? No. So definitely want to make sure, right? And let's see, a couple more things. as Nimrod mentioned, NAACP, also the ACLU of Missouri, and the National Lawyers Guild are places that you can reach out to. National Lawyers Guild and ACLU do lots of trainings, and we run the Legal Observer program in our state. Also, make sure you connect with Matt and Terry if you're interested in doing work with them. Nimrod hit it on earlier that, you know, we've got to keep this up. And anybody who knows me, if I do an event, it's not just to bring us together and talk about how bad things are. We got work to do. And so, you know, this is a call to action too. You know, this is an opportunity for you to be involved, for you to have some input in how we should handle this. So those of you who are attending, we're going to send out a follow-up email with an opportunity for you to join in with those of us who are going to make sure that we continue to protect this very important right, but also to add in that accountability steps and measures that, quite frankly, aren't there. So it's really important for our state. Make sure that you look out for that. There is also one other thing. There is an event. Sorry, my computer just died. Alicia, I'm sorry, if you are around, can you please give everybody the info on the event? I don't want to get the date wrong. Or Ryanda, if you have that available.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, so we at the ACLU of Missouri try to give you all the tools that you need to advocate, fight for your rights, and part of that is at the Missouri legislative session. So we have an upcoming training on March 11th. So it's this Thursday from 6 to 7. It is how to uplift stories of migration and immigration for policy change. So essentially, we are going to talk you through how to give testimony at the state legislature to impact bills. And although we are focusing on immigration bills, this training is super important because it can be used in any type of bill. You know, there are various criminal justice reform bills. Nimrod alluded to some in some of his conversation. So tools that you'll learn from this training can also be used in other types of issue bases. So yeah, it is March 11th, this Thursday from 6 to 7, and I will drop the RSVP link in the chat, and you'll also get it in a follow-up email.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Computer just died on me. So there are a lot of things we really need you all to be with us on, pay attention. The testimony training is really important. Please go to that. We did 2 last couple weeks ago. They were really great. Those folks testified at the Kansas City budget hearing. And so we are essentially building power with our folks, and really want y'all to have these tools. We want y'all to know how to do it. We want y'all to have access. We want to build power in our state so that everybody can what? Say it, Nimrod. You're on mute.
So that we can live.
That's
and we got to vote to live. We got to keep on living. Yeah.
We just want to live, and
yes,
might I dare say we want to thrive.
Right on.
So thank you all so much for joining us on this conversation about police accountability and our right to record. If you have any other questions, please drop us a line. We answer questions back. Remember, we'll have the follow-up information for all of you all. Thank you for taking out your time this evening to rock with us on this, and we'll be in touch. Have a wonderful evening, y'all. Bye-bye.
Right on. Hey, thanks everybody.